you said tech, right?
Yeah.
100%. Why can't tech be a hobby?
Right.
Why can't construction be a hobby?
Yeah.
What I learned from the school this year and heard from Brockland is counselors in schools are going to give what they have to give to kids.
Yep.
And we as an industry don't give enough for them to show kids. The 4-year school isn't going to be pushed on them.
Right.
I am not opposed to college.
Right. Neither am I.
I'm opposed to being debt-free
Yep.
and being productive and profitable in what you do every day
Right.
with a passion.
Today we got Jeremy with Jerco Construction, a friend of mine who I'm proud to call right now, but we barely knew each other a few years back. And it was a cold connection that happened twice, and then we just kind of kept
Twice
persistent.
within like 6 months or something. It
Roughly.
was like, yeah. We
Yeah.
met and then...
And then we met, and then I made a call. I was doing something with the local Twin Cities SBA
Yes.
office, and she says to me, I have a gentleman that's been through similar stuff as you're looking for. And she's like, Jeremy with Jerco, do you know? And I
Yeah.
was like, funny you should say that. Because I do.
That's right.
We just met.
We're real close, actually.
We're real close. And
What,
then
a mile away from each other.
literally, I don't even know if it was that. So then that's how it all started. But please do tell us a little bit about yourself and the adventures you've been taking on these last couple of years.
Not the last couple of years, just since I've opened a business, the adventures. But
Well,
the last
the
few
adventures
years
have been going since day one.
The last few years, it's been, we're Jerco Construction. Our main focus, what we're best at, is we're a high-end framing contractor. We're building the biggest, nicest houses in the Twin City area. I would say in 2017, we probably had, I would put it against anybody, we had one of the biggest, most talented, most experienced carpentry crews in the Twin Cities. And we did that. We bought a company, acquired employees and some equipment, because the more you think about purchasing a company, and it's more of an acquisition than a purchasing.
Right.
And it was crazy because we typically run on, before overhead, like a 50 to 60% margin. That's kind of our baseline before everything. And we were doing that. 2017 comes around. Bring on this crew. It was an older group of gentlemen that were all great guys, all super good carpenters. But we started losing money. And we had to figure that out. And just when we had it figured out, COVID hit. And then we had to figure it out again. And then once we figured that out, I got sick. And pre-COVID, I was supposed to speak in Champlain Park to a group of students, and the school board was going to be there. And when literally the day the governor shut us down was the day I was supposed to speak, so it didn't happen.
That day I was supposed to fly to Mexico. I remember vividly.
And it didn't happen.
And it didn't happen. And I'm pissed. I'm still
I would be pissed. You ended up doing that though, right?
No. No.
Oh, because of COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, COVID, everybody's COVID story is a little bit different. I'm an optimist, so I always like to see the good in things. Through my kids going through high school and being products of the COVID generation, my oldest son was trying to find his path in what he was going to do after school. And I am from Spring Lake Park. I'm born and bred. I bleed blue. Played football there for a lot of years. Right out of high school, I started doing nonprofit work for the football team to raise money, to help the teams. I got into coaching early on, and kids have been my passion. I'm 43, and I've been coaching for 25 years.
Wow, that is amazing.
So in that, I found out that the trades program was getting back into Spring Lake Park, and they were going to build a house in the parking lot, and I'm like, well, that's fantastic. So just because of my oldest son kind of getting involved, Scott Wickland, who is a saint, I've known Scott for 18, 19 years. He was a social studies teacher at Spring Lake Park. And I ended up getting sick last summer, which made me so I couldn't be out in the field. And it made me really hone in on our systems and processes and the weaknesses that we have and the tough situations and what we face as contractors in this new and crazy world that we live in.
Right.
And because it's literally 500 feet from my house, I was able to spend a whole bunch of time with those kids. And it kind of sparked my interest in how do we get kids back in the trades again. And what we did with the kids at that school and building that house kind of showed me my path moving forward. And when I put an ad out, I'm always looking for an experienced, good person that has framing experience. And you know how hiring goes. Like, you get 3 years experience, I'm a good person. Well, they have 3 weeks experience and they're an average person. You know what I mean?
At the best.
Yeah, at best. And I saw these kids whom we give a hard time to for being techie and being the millennial. I've changed my opinion on the millennials.
Are they millennials or are they a little
Well, they're
different?
kind of the Gen
Gen
Zs.
Zs.
Then
Yes.
now I think it's Gen X or
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had that
I'm being-
had the millennials to the Gen Zs, and it's like the millennials and who was before the millennials.
I have no idea.
we're Gen Z.
Who's Gen
Oh,
Zs?
wait.
Not me.
Not me.
No, not you for sure.
Oh, what are you saying, Rod?
Thanks
We're
for
old?
clarifying. Thanks for clarifying. I just want you to know I don't even like to be like labeled millennial.
No.
Like, I'm like, oh,
No, but here's the thing: we say millennials, and it's like these kids are not millennials.
Yeah.
they're kind of where I'm 43, so I'm like is it Gen X before millennials?
I think it is Gen X.
So I'm kind of a Gen X millennial. I'm probably like, if you really point it down, I'm a millennial, but I am not a millennial.
Right, I know. Like inside, I'm like, I don't want to be anything.
Right, I'm
like
old
this.
school.
Yeah, I'm like, we're the first ones that saw dial-up. We're the first ones that saw high speed. We're the first one to see smartphone. We're like, we lived through all of that.
But we were taught on the principles of having nothing.
Exactly. But we came from an age where like, dude, you had to go get your buddy,
That's
walk over to
why
his house to
we
see
have
if he's
people
available.
like you and our kids to
Yeah.
teach us how to use these things.
True.
And once I learn, it's fantastic.
I mean, it is, but at the same time, like how addicting it is for, like even I catch myself like, what are you doing? Put that down, you know? And I'm like,
Yes.
I'm telling this to my girls and I'm like, okay.
But then they watch you.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I gotta, as soon as I walk in, put this where it's not out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
And then put it on silent. So like, even if it rings, like this is their
Yeah.
moment, I'll come back to it later.
The minute I get in at home, and not to say that I don't use my phone and take calls, but at home it's turned off, and I don't take a call. I look to see if I have to return a call,
Yep.
and that's changed over the years.
Yeah.
Because it used to be you could be sitting at lunch or dinner with your in-laws, and if my phone rang, I took it and I went away. And
I could be sitting with president and I would take the call.
And you would do that,
and
right?
It's like, I'm sorry.
And now, no.
Yeah. Like the way that, I don't know if it was like, and I don't think ever that I was dealing with the clients who were that demanding, but it was just like you felt, you gave that to yourself that it's like every call.
relationship.
Yeah. Every call is that important. You got to take it.
Yep.
And then I realized like, no, the moment here is a lot more important and they can wait. They don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And if they go to voicemail, they're not going to be, offended. I'll get back to them. But
Right.
that's me like rewiring myself.
Oh my gosh,
Every
every day.
day.
Every day.
And reinforcing it. And it's like, I almost have a slight anxiety when I let it go to voicemail.
Slight?
Slight anxiety.
Oh,
like,
I have an anxiety.
Yeah.
There's
like-
no slight about it.
Well,
Especially if you know it's someone that is a value to you.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's whether that's a customer, whether it's a friend, whether
Right.
it's a
Right.
whatever it is. I just feel like I want to help that person right away.
Right.
And that's me. That's not them.
Yeah.
They probably didn't call me expecting me to
Right.
answer.
Right.
And if they do, they'll probably call back.
yeah. And sometimes it's like, dude, I just wanted to shoot shit. And it's like, oh, damn.
And sometimes
All right.
I can't shoot the shit.
Yeah. And it is what it is. So sorry to kind
No,
of
that's all right. That's okay.
Go off of that. So then that led you to
So last summer, before I got sick, I had brought 3 kids in, and I had started to do a hands-on teaching the kids the basics rather than trying to do it on site.
okay.
To try to take the time
Were
in the
those
shop.
kids still in school and working
They
for you? Or
were.
they-
Well, Megan she graduated last year. Now she's going to college.
okay.
Jack was a graduate that went to Montana State,
Mm-hmm.
and then Hunter was a junior going to be a senior, and I actually worked with him. He was in the trades class this summer.
Okay. Okay.
And then I think we did 2 or 3 different sessions in the shop, and then I disappeared for 2 months. And I mean, it's not we've set up our company where I don't have to be on site, and I'm not on site every day.
Right.
Because the chain of command is good. But that's not me. I'm usually out on site once or twice a week, or whatever it is. But when I ended up getting out of the hospital right as their summer was done. And at our last team meeting before they took off and were doing their kid stuff, I just asked my team, that was my team before them and that was moving on with us, and I asked those kids, was it beneficial? And my team was, it was priceless.
Yeah.
Like, because we didn't have to teach them to use a tape measure. We didn't have to teach them to use a pencil. There's a lot of work that we have to do.
Yep.
But those types of things, if the 3 years experienced people
Yep.
don't know those things.
Right.
So that was that led into my son getting into the trades at school, and it just kind of kept going and kept going. And then what I am most proud of Scott and Scott and Eric over at Spring Lake Park and what they did. Not only did in the first year did they take a program that was literally they had nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it feel like, it's not that it's dying. It was dead like years ago.
Yeah.
It's like trying to bring dinosaurs back.
Yes. And I just talked to Scott.
I love Scott.
Oh my God! I
literally
think it was
keep
Monday.
telling him.
He was following up with me from my
Yeah.
surgery.
Yeah.
And I had been doing, because they're looking at, they're going to build another house, but they're also building a 24 by 24 shed.
Okay.
And they're kind of changing how everything works on site. So all this summer I'd been designing that shed for them. Well, we got the go ahead and we got the specs that we need to do. So we kept going with that. But what was the most amazing thing for them is if you want to entice kids or anybody, you have to dangle a carrot.
I know.
Right?
That's
and the fine line between dangling a carrot and making it easy and making that carrot like something that they really want
right.
is crazy. And what they did is the construction trade programs at Spring Lake Park was a profitable program.
Yeah.
So if you think of, and I'm not bashing any of these other things, but the math, science, social studies, all these other departments within the high school, they are funded and they teach the kids, and the kids get what they need from that.
Yep.
But what was cool about the trades program is they profited
Yep.
because they worked and they came up with innovative ideas to sell the things that they did below market value to put and reinvest back into the program.
Exactly.
And I watched all of the seniors, imagine your senior year in high school. You don't want to be there.
Yep.
Whether you're a valedictorian or whether you're number 339 out of 339.
Yep.
The last half of your senior year, you don't want to be there, right?
Yep.
And I watched a group of seniors the last month of school design, build, and either keep and use or sell
Whatever
a product
Yep.
on the schools, not the school's dime, but the dime that they worked hard all year
Right.
to sell.
Scott was telling me, I don't know how many dog houses and chicken coops they sold.
It was
crazy.
double
It's
digits.
Like, he said like everything that was built sold.
Yes.
And he goes like we were taking requests and orders.
Yes.
To build more.
Yes.
you
And
know?
it was either one or two kids. We talked about ice fishing earlier. He bought with his own money a steel crank up ice house frame.
Yep.
So just the trailer part of it.
Yep.
And his last month of his senior year, he got to build that fish house.
Wow.
That was his last month of school.
That is amazing.
So
dude.
if that doesn't inspire you to at least want to learn about the trades.
I know. I just, when it comes to that, like I look at it this way. I know that everybody's like, technology. It's been nothing but technology ever since like last 20 years, how everybody's going to be in that, right? But I'm like, not all of us are smart enough to be in that, right? Let's start with that. And when you look at any kind of population, there's got to be somebody to do something else other than technology. You might be able to how to use it, but you have no idea how it all works. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. However, I'm like, there's so much that could be learned in construction, and if you learn a trade, that you can make a very good living with your hands. And then even if you want to start your own gig and work a little harder, you can be a lot better than 90% of the population, I feel like.
Right.
You
Construction's
control your
not going
time,
away.
you have the money, you have what you know, and people need that.
Right.
And less people know how to do it with their hands, and more people are looking to hire it out. And it's like, why wouldn't you want to have something like that?
Yeah. So you said tech, right?
Yeah.
100%. Why can't tech be a hobby?
Right.
Why can't construction be a hobby?
Yeah.
How many of the dads and moms that we grew up with they weren't in the trades, but they did everything in their house themselves.
Literally.
Right? So if we can take a group of kids, I keep telling the kids, if I can teach you to use a speed square, a tape measure, and a skill saw.
Yep.
I just told the kids on site this morning.
Yep.
If you can you learn to use those 3 tools efficiently, either it's going to help you in your craft or it's going to help you in life, because if you can use those 3 things, you can implement them at home or somewhere in your job.
True.
So the basic, I mean, mankind was based on being able to build something.
Right.
Even in the tech world, you build stuff.
Right. Right.
Right? But we as an industry don't do a good enough job to promote what we do to make it look cool. And that's what I got. That's what I'm
Do you
learning.
really think so? It's just us in the industry? Or is it the entire society of like, I have a feeling when I was growing up, my dad would tell me like, you know, well, with those grades, there's always going to be ditch diggers necessary. And you're kind of, you know, at that rate where you're going to be digging the ditch. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, it's
But let's
almost
go to
like-
the school thing.
Yeah.
If you were to walk into any high school in the state,
Yep.
what information do they have on the wall that's just readily available for you?
God, I don't know. I haven't been in high
Colleges?
school. Yeah. Like I wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, that.
So
that
what
would be
I like,
common
you're
next step.
you're
right.
100% right in that in society, the society thing. But we're not going to start talking about society,
that's-
right? But we as an
We'll need
industry,
so
in
much
order,
more time.
we'll be here all night, and it's going to be a 12-pack.
Literally.
But when you walk into what I learned from the school this year, and Eric from Brockland, because he does such a great job at promoting what we do,
Yep.
is counselors in schools are going to give what they have to give to kids.
Yep.
And we as an industry don't give enough for them to show kids. But we're changing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
5 years ago, there's probably very few companies like us
Yep.
that are involved in the school that a counselor can say, hey, think about going to work for Jerco, think about going to work
Yeah.
for SMC.
Yep.
But now, if we do a better job at being involved with the kids,
True.
the 4-year school isn't going to be pushed on them.
Right.
I am not opposed to college.
Right. Neither am I.
I'm opposed to being debt-free
Yep.
and being productive and profitable in what you do every day
Right.
with a passion.
Right. I look at it this way, like when you go and you go to a college, you go get that diploma and you pay thousands of dollars, you know, for that diploma, and you come out with, like, you're already negative. You got that debt, and then with the job that you get, you know, hope to God that it's making 30, 40 grand, you know. And I'm looking at it like with construction, like you can learn a trade that is going to be like, you don't have to go to college. You're going to make money while you're learning it. You're not negative. And as you progress through those 4 years, you're going to be making a lot more than if you went to got that diploma, and you're already in a plus.
And
'cause
what
of
if you
that.
want to go to school at that point?
I
You
mean,
have
if
the money to do it.
You have the money to do it.
You
if
have a
want to.
direction.
And on top of that, you have something to fall back on. You know, like I have a feeling that everybody was telling me that I need to get a diploma to have something to fall back on. And I never.
I don't
went
think
to.
they were telling you that.
Well, I guess they were asking.
I think
Is that what it
society was telling
Well,
you need to go to school,
Right.
because that's the right thing to do.
Right. But
That's
the way that they package it, like, to me, what interests me, like I had A's in, you know, history,
Yeah.
business, accounting, I hated. Like there was no way that I could have.
Now you wish you'd.
I wish I paid attention more. I really do. But I did hate it because it was like nitty gritty of like, you know, numbers crunching.
That was
and, like,
construction management degree.
that, well, and then like to construction management point was like, you know, certain things I was just like, I lit up, you know.
Right.
And then the certain is like, oh my God, really? Come on. Why is this, you know? And then when it comes to like, you know, regulations, EPA and, you know, everything else,
Yeah.
you know, it's like you have different choice of words for those, I guess.
Well, there's good things in every industry, and there's
And
bad
there's-
things. In it.
exactly.
Like there's good parts of jobs and bad parts of jobs. and
Exactly.
as the business owner, those are the crappy part that only life can teach you.
True. And it's like, I have a feeling even that, I always say every school costs. And, you know, when we look at all of this, we're still paying for classes on every day. But as we were saying, like even to this point, like there's still something that I feel like I'm taking classes for and I'm learning. Not because I want to expand, it's not a passionate learning, but this is a true learning of hard knocks, you know, because you're put in that situation. And it's
Absolutely.
Like, you have
Absolutely.
to. So then tell me about this. This is all kind of happening, and then the Onsite Daily is the
So I started Onsite Daily 10 years ago when kind of YouTube, when I started in business development and like YouTube, I mean, let's be honest, YouTube is one of the most powerful, it's crazy how powerful YouTube is, and everybody, like kids don't watch TV anymore, kids watch YouTube, right? So I just started, whether it was a project at home. If you go on our site, Onsite Daily, if you go on there, you're going to see some videos of me and my daughter doing some stuff around the house. Just in the last year, we're ramping up with some of that stuff, and we're doing more. We've got a lot of footage right now that we have to put together and get out. But it was in the evolution of, so we have Jerco, we have Onsite Academy, which basically we're mimicking what we're doing in the school, and that's our onboarding process. Because like I said, last summer we had those 3 kids, so I had started to work on a curriculum. So the fact that the trades program at Spring Lake Park happened, it got me back into that passion that I've had, and it was giving me a direction, because I was basically day to day with teachers who know how to put a plan together, a curriculum together. So we started doing that. This summer we had 5 of our Spring Lake Park kids come out and work for us. It was perfect because our curriculum wasn't 100%. But I had been working with these kids for the last 6-7 months, so I knew what they were capable of. So they were the guinea pigs on how to fine tune that curriculum. And then as the program went on, and watching the dog houses and the sheds and all that stuff happening, as I started pitching this to people, everybody's like, well, what's the business plan? What's the business model? Where's the revenue? And I said, I'm not worried about that right now. Like, this is something that I have to figure out. This is a passion project. I'll figure the revenue process out. And just staying patient and staying true to being there with the kids and working with Scott. I mean, Scott laid out a business plan right in front of me. Like, I can bring kids in, I can show them simple blueprints. I can hold them accountable and have them redo things until it was perfect, assemble it, and sell it. So now our website will be launching, I believe, our new website will be launching within the next month or so. And on there, our new website's going to have a plethora of construction knowledge, where to find opportunities to get paid education, on-site training, not only the stuff that we're doing, but other industries, welding. So all the programs that Scott and them are
awesome.
Like, I want to be Jerco's website to be a place where people to go to find out how to get opportunities in construction, not just with Jerco. Like, we as a team have to create those opportunities. And by doing that, I can sell, like, for an instance, the number one thing my team wanted the kids to have the capabilities of doing was cutting a straight line. Knowing how to use sawhorses, knowing what a cut station looks like. So I'm looking at, like, your dog houses, your sheds, your chicken coops, and I'm like, okay, we got all these plans that are going to be sold on Etsy, and that's part of our revenue plan. But the first thing that I could do in order to get these kids before they went on site, we had them go through the basics. There was a few tests, quizzes, that kind of stuff. But like I said, they'd already got a lot of that in the school program. So life-size Jenga, 2x4 Jenga, you've probably seen it. It's 56 cuts. And I told them they need to make 56 cuts. They got to be perfect. They got to be square. And like, I'm thinking that's a lot of cuts. Well, it's not near enough. Each kid should probably do 10 of those before they go out on the site. But it was a baseline. It was a starting point.
Of course.
Well, I can go on site and collect all the scrap 2x4s in the world and make that stuff look pretty. And I can sell it online for $50 for a yard game, right? So there's always, like, I was never worried about the business model because I had to figure out what the model was.
Exactly. But this is also so unique to, like, if you were to come to me with all my stuff that I have to do on a daily basis as a business owner, and
value and that know that the skill set that they have is what they choose for it to be. So I want to make them realize whatever that skill set is, we can give you the base for that skill set to move forward. Whatever direction you choose. So the business model, here's where it goes. not only can I build stuff and sell it online, and eventually, hopefully, that becomes a manufacturing plant where a manufacturing plant becomes a school, right?
Yep.
Because you have all these tough sheds and you have all this stuff.
Yep.
Well, anybody can build sheds, and I'm not bashing them.
Right.
But what is a long time ago, someone told me that your most passionate thing that you'll ever do is going to be worth no money to you, but it's going to be worth everything to you.
Right.
And what I've learned is the youth in our community is my passion.
Yep.
It's something that I've spent time on for the last 25 years. I've spent time away from my family because of it.
Yep.
And now there's an opportunity to not only give back to those kids, but show them what we do. And show them what we do is way cooler than a lot of things they're ever going to go to school for and try.
Right.
And if not, I've given them a skill set that hopefully guides them in the direction that will teach them what their passion is.
Yep.
So as I've worked through the last year and worked through the kinks, talking to you and other builders that I work for and with and other trade partners that I work for and with, you said it about 2 minutes ago. You said, I don't want 6 kids to teach. That's 99.9% of business owners.
Right.
So what if I teach, because even you, like you guys, like you have trade partners for everything. You do a little bit of internal work. You do the punch list. You might do small framing and demo projects.
Yep.
So either you or JM Electric out of Blaine, he is the same way and he needs people.
Yep.
So if I teach a kid to use a tape measure, a skill saw, and a speed square, that doesn't mean that kid can't be an electrician.
Right.
It's going to help that kid be an electrician.
Yep.
So the business model now is I'm like, I am a labor provider for my trades team.
Yep.
And I go out, I recruit the kids, I get them into my program, I show them every side of it. I show them being a PM for SMC, I show them being a carpenter for Jerco, I show them what it looks like to be an electrician, I show them what it likes to be a plumber. And once they choose their route and we kind of give them to a trade partner, there's a time frame of window where they come, like if you want a handyman and I'm a staffing, I'm a training program, but a staffing program. And in that 90 days, anytime that they need to come back to me to teach a skill that you don't have the time or can't do in the field, you tell me what that is and they come back and we teach them and then they come back. Not only skills and the want to be in the trades is huge, but I am a huge culture guy.
Yep.
I live and breathe culture, and I do not believe that any organization, whether it's a business, whether it's a sporting team, whether it's a theater program, whether it's a nonprofit, whatever that organization is, if you don't have some kind of culture, you're going to fail. And we won't get into society, but I think society doesn't like culture. I think society tries to create a bunch of individuals that don't know how to live in a culture. That's just my opinion.
Right.
So what I want to do with all this, part of the business plan, is like if you come to me and say, hey, Joe and Megan were absolutely awesome. They're going to continue to work for me. The 90-day period's done. Like you paid me my fee to give you these people. Well, I want to make sure that there's a pecking order, whether it's a promotion, and each company would be a little bit different. But I want a 1 to 5 year plan with the business agreement between Onsite Academy and you is I want you to promote culture because I want to see where these kids go and how they get through your program and whether or not they stay a handyman, but it's 15 years working for you.
Right.
So the kickback for me is every time they hit one of them benchmarks, we get a kickback. It's a part of our contract because I want you to know that a big part of what I'm teaching these kids is culture and sustainability.
Right.
Because
that's awesome.
I want kids to work I want people to work for me for as long. I want to be the boss that people want to work for because they know that I'm giving them, we as a team are giving them their all. And if you don't teach that in your training, it's never going to happen. And you and I both know we've been through it.
Oh, God.
Because we don't focus enough on that. And we've either lost someone because of someone else or we've lost someone because we didn't give them that as business owners.
Right.
So the business model, long or short, is get them in there, teach them, be profitable in the things that we're making, but create a culture and because my culture can be your culture. How many trade partners, if you do a huge extensive remodel, how many trade partners do you have on that?
God.
10?
On top of my head right now, minimum would be 10.
And they're not your employees.
No.
They're your trade partners.
Yep.
But do you think the culture on your job site is the number one factor that makes or breaks a job?
I mean, it has to be. It has to be. But I have a feeling that over quite a few years right now, as it goes back to that, when a client calls and you don't answer, we've been working with people who are like-minded, and our beliefs and our, not like beliefs, but beliefs in what a client should get from us
Right.
is as close as aligned as possible.
Right.
And or after a few jobs that we did do, that we were trying to, the ones that didn't, not to say that I need them to conform, but to make sure that we have certain
Grow.
expectations and we are looking for those expectations. And you can, by all means, not follow and do what we're expecting of you and expect of ourselves and everybody else that works with us. At that point, we're not gonna work anymore.
Right.
I don't need to feed you jobs or give you jobs that you are going to treat my client not as way that I expect to be treated, and I expect you to treat them the same way as I treat them.
And hold your team members accountable for doing that.
Everybody else that's under your payroll and with you
Yep.
and there is under that same umbrella.
Right.
Because, and I used to tell people before, just so you know, just because you're my trade partner, that in my client's eyes, you're still SMC. And I'm not saying this to belittle you and your business in any way, shape, or form, but they don't know you in any other way. I brought you in. I've worked on this deal. I sold this job. I sold all of this. They know me. They know my team, and they just think that you're directly on my payroll. We both know you're not, and it doesn't.
Even
need
if they
to be.
know that they're not on their payroll, that's what the image is, because they're working.
Exactly.
We hired you.
Yes.
And yeah, 100%.
And if you are the weakest link in the chain, that's where SMC fails, and I don't want to have that. I don't
Right.
want to deal with that. There's so much that we have to do on every day to make every job a success and make every job what it needs to be, that I don't need to work on telling somebody how to behave on a job site and be a
Right.
grown-ass man.
Right.
There's no need for that.
Right. So for the most, actually, October 11th or October 3rd, I forget which one. It'll be our 15-year anniversary for
Wow.
Jerco. And
Congratulations, man.
thank you. And I think I spent 12 or 13 of that years trying to define what our culture was, what we were, because we were in that transition of a lot of the baby boomers getting out of it. Like in 2017, when I told you I had all those guys, a lot of those guys were in their 50s, late 60s. I literally had to let go a guy that it was, at that time, I was probably 38. He had been framing for like 10 years longer than I'd been alive.
Yeah.
And I had to let him go, and I had to tell him, like, you don't fit our culture.
Yep.
You're not willing to change or grow. And I don't like the word change either.
Yep,
I think
yep.
grow is a better word.
Grow is a better word. Yep.
And I get it. And
Yep.
I told him, I get it. Like,
Yep.
I understand it. I'm going to be that guy. So I already see it at 43. I already see myself being that guy sometime.
Yep.
But what I keep reminding myself every day is, if you don't change, if you're not willing to change, you ain't going to grow.
I tell myself every morning that the willingness for a change and embracement of change is where it got me to this point. And the more I accept it, and the more I grow with it, and the more I let it help me grow, not work against the grain with
Yeah.
it, is the better. I'm going to always be better by just embracing that change, no matter what it is.
Yes.
And when I stop that process, and when I stop to grow, that's when there's right now there's no limits, I feel like, but there's where your limitations are.
Do you feel like the minute you're embracing change and growth, like there's less opportunities or less things thrown at you that are like so crazy off the cuff that you weren't expecting it? Because I feel like the more I grow, I'm preparing myself for those items rather than just the unexpected hitting you in the back of the head with a 2x4.
You put it so well. I feel like the more I allow myself to grow, there's not a lot that can surprise me.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
Because you're expecting it.
Sometimes like you expect everything at all times, but it's not. It won't happen at all times.
Let's be honest. Just strictly business.
Strictly business.
In all of the times that you've failed or like pissed someone off throughout the years that you've been in business, can you honestly tell me that there wasn't a little part of you that said to yourself, this might happen because I'm not doing something correctly?
I would say every time it happened,
And how,
I
since
would-
you've embraced growth, those times are less. You know what I mean? Because you're prepping yourself
Right.
for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the part I feel like, I mean, I don't know how I would be able to put this, I would be able to put my life into a class, or how I would be able to put my life and my business into something that I could teach somebody. But it's like, no matter how well I plan my day or my week or my month, like it changes on a just instant, just depending on what else is happening around me with my employees, subs, jobs, and everything else. And if you're not open for that, and if you're not ready to embrace that, you're gonna have a lot of stressful days.
Yeah.
Your life, you're gonna wanna literally quit every day, hate yourself for even ever getting into it,
Right.
and like, what am I doing here? But to me, it used to drive me insane, and then I realized that the best thing that I can do is assess it, reschedule what I can reschedule, address what needs to be addressed, and come back to what I need to come back to, what I planned for that day anyways.
Yeah.
And I might not come back to it the next day, but I might come back to it hopefully that next week.
And you have a team that
And then-
knows that those things need to get done, that help remind you or help you complete it.
Exactly. Or even somebody that I can come on and say, listen, this is what happened and messed all of my, day, week, whatever. I need your help on this so that we can make sure that this, gets picked up and moved in the right direction.
I don't remember who it was offhand, but I had a conversation with someone outside of a schedule got screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a weather thing, and it was someone that was outside of construction, and they were just like, how do you let that happen? How can't you live your life by a schedule? Because I when you say that, I mean, I have a default calendar every week, and I go through my book and I write it down. And what are we, Thursday today?
Yep.
I think I'm still working on stuff from Monday on my default list, because
Yep.
that's just the way the world is. But I told him, I go, just imagine you have a deadline at work. I go, when you sit in a building and you're in front of a computer, there's a lot of variables. Everything that every person does has a lot of variables. Every business does.
Yep.
But imagine if you have 3 different companies working on site and it rains and it delays a day. Because I always tell people 1 rain day is more like 4 rain days in a schedule.
Yep.
And when they start, I go, not only do we have the normal business elements to deal with, we have we could probably throw 3 or 4 out there, but just weather in itself
Yep.
can start a decline
my
where everything goes to hell.
Yep.
And
And especially in our state.
so, yeah, that's what our summer looked like. We had January 1st, I had the whole schedule lined up for the whole year.
Yeah.
Well, we had a little bit of weather and 2 concrete issues that delayed 1 project a month and a half.
Yep. A month and a half. And,
So-
and try to explain that to somebody who doesn't see this every day.
Right. Yep.
I look at it as my schedule, as I try to I tell all of my clients that, here's the best that we can do, and here's what we're hoping for this schedule. But this is just a blueprint for what we're doing, right? On some of the days, even though it's on schedule, it might not happen.
Right.
But on some of the days, there might be 7 things that were not supposed to happened. That's the way that a construction works. That's the
Right.
way that it lines up. If one setback throws my schedule off on one job, or one of my trade partners on another job, or whatever the case might be, or even the job that's not related to anything that we're doing here, it's going to be just, he had something that happened,
Right. 'Cause life happens,
Because
work
life happens. And now just imagine, have 10 people that something could happen in the period of that month, 2 months, whatever it is that you're working on. It can go every which way.
Yep.
But my job is to inform you, to let you know that there's this slight delay, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I still catch it up and that we get it done at relatively that promised time that we did. And it's never in my interest to delay it purposely. It's like,
delays everything.
It delays everything. And not just does it delay everything. I tell people that, what happens is, even when your job gets delayed and I'm running behind on your job, I still have other jobs and other starts that I've promised. So if I have 5 jobs that are going on and yours is delayed and the 6th one just started, I'm in a world of hurt, and I don't want that. And
Right.
then I'm just juggling so much that
And
I
that
can't.
happens so easily, doesn't
So
it?
easily. All the time. All the time.
When it rains, it pours, and when it's dry, it's dry.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? So Raju, you had a question
Yes.
for our guest.
Yes, so this one is about how he was talking about 3 things that they need in order to go to so many different directions of trades. So could you like say like organize it in a way so that you start with like, hey, you need these three skills, and you could go to electrician, maybe a plumber or this is how many trades can they get into, and what everybody likes is money. So you're gonna talk about, hey, this is how much plumbers can make, and an average is, I think it's about 80 to 100,000. A full-time plumber who's been there for like a few years,
Yep.
start making that kind of money. If you're an electrician, they get paid like 200, 250 bucks an hour, or 150. Because I paid that much for the electrician that I did for my studio, and it could be, so that's how much they're making. So talk about like if we could have like a rough average, like how much you could be making, and imagine you're going 4 years of college without making any money, while you're doing it, and you end up making like 50 to 60 grand. That's also even hard for you to get it, unless like you're doing a doctorate. That's like maybe 8 years of hard work, and then you get paid well when you're a doctor. But when you're going to college for something that's not like something like doctor, then it's going to be very hard for them to get a job that pays like 80 grand or more. Usually they get anywhere from 50 to 70, because I'm a college student. I just graduated. I'm in IT, and even for me, I did get pays well, but after like 5 or 6 years. But at this point, 60, 70, right?
Yep.
So
That's with a degree.
That's with a degree, exactly. So 4 years. It took me 5, 6 years to graduate, but but I was working.
And how much debt was that?
Not it was.
I mean, you had to pay for it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. But I was working. For me, because I was in the business. Like I was also working for
Yeah.
my own business. It didn't hamper me. Like I didn't have any loans. I don't have any loans. Student debt or anything. But for those who take a lot of debts, just to narrow it down and take into numbers, like this is just 3 trades. You can get into these many directions, and this is how much each are making, and that's just to give them that idea of, okay, this is what you're missing out. So what would how would you put that?
I'm a disgruntled carpenter, and I might be throwing myself to the ringer here, but a carpenter who's typically on site more than any of the other trades is the lowest paying trade that there is. My 1 to 5 year experience guys that care, guys or gals that care, they're making anywhere from 45 to 50 depending on their skill set right away. You go into like a lead carpenter, it all depends on, but it's 60 to 70. PM, the guy that runs my company, he's making 90 plus, and he's been doing it for 10 years. So it's in our world now, that's a long time, but it's not a lot. So when you look at electricians and plumbers, why I say I might be throwing myself, like I might be screwing myself, is because electricians, plumbers, and HVAC guys make more money on an hourly basis or a yearly basis than we do, and I fight my builders for that. I get a plumbing bill, and it's just for someone to show up, it's $200. When I do that as a carpenter, people laugh at me. I still do it because I'm warranting the same thing that my time's just as valuable. It's different skill sets, but you can come out of high school right away and make over 50 grand, 40, at least minimum 40 working part-time, and 50 plus without any education, without any debt. Every trade is a little bit different, but I know one of my good plumber buddies, he's a project manager type. He's been plumbing for 30 years. Well, him and his wife saved up enough money throughout the years. They bought a bar with cash. So their second business is they bought a restaurant and bar, and they bought that with cash on being a plumber, and I don't remember what his wife is, but she works. So the sky's the limit. It's what you choose to put into it. But I like the fact that I love when I hear you say, I'm a college graduate and I worked my way to pay for it, because that's the way college should be promoted.
Right.
In my mind.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because you don't have debt, but you put the effort and the time into bettering yourself in the craft that you chose right out of high school to be in. And now you're miles ahead, because not only do you have, 6, 7 years of experience and a degree, and you've got a resume and a client base that's going to make you succeed, So
just to return to one point that you mentioned earlier, you're like, I know that doctors make a lot of money. Yeah, but doctors also carry so much debt. Like their first 10 years is probably going to be just paying that debt for that education that they did. And the only reason why I'm saying this is another buddy of mine who is like a financial advisor and stuff like that. We were talking about it, and he's like, I get surprised sometimes when I have these like high earners come in and they don't even know how much money they're making, but then they don't even know how much money they need to pay for, just paying those loans off, and it's the numbers are crazy when you put that in perspective,
I can't even imagine what it is now, because when I went to school, I had some small scholarships and stuff, and I had like $35,000 worth of debt for 4 years.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what, I have not even looked, I don't even want to know what college costs right now. Like, I bet you a public college is 20 grand a semester, 15 grand a semester.
I have no idea, to tell you the truth. I don't even know. I'm not in those waters yet, but I'm about to find out when my girls start school. But I just remember my way of doing it. I'm the first generation immigrant, and I can't rely on my parents to pay for my college. And I was just telling myself, like, I am taking as many classes as I can afford with my part-time job that I have. That's as many classes I'm going to take. And I pay for those, and I work through, to get both of those, done. And I never had any loans. But I have so many friends that are like, oh my God, I still got those loans that I got to pay, and they have good paying jobs, So to say what it is, I honestly don't know. But I'm assuming, like, community colleges are still the most affordable.
It's still got to be 40 grand a year, I would assume.
No.
It's not?
So publics are much cheaper. It's not that expensive. Depends on if you're going to, University of Minnesota, bigger schools. They are quite expensive, but, because I didn't pay too much for college. Because for me, because I'm already at a point where, spending for college, it doesn't seem like a lot. Because we grew up paying every single month, from day one, we are paying for school for the entire life.
Yep.
So when I came here and, like, I found out, like, you didn't have to pay for school until high school.
Yep.
Unless you're going to private. That's correct, right?
Yep.
But most of the time, you're not paying for school. We pay for school the entire time, and when I hear people...
So that it's just, you just go.
Yeah,
that's just part of the culture.
Exactly. It's so normal for me, like, okay, why are people so, whining about paying for college? Because now I know, because they didn't pay for school, they didn't have to pay for school, and when you have to pay for college, like, 20 grand a year, even for a, for a public school, that's how much you end up paying out for, books and stuff, roughly, on average, I think, if you're on a decent school.
And when I was a kid, you know what that was? It was like 10 a year.
Yeah, but I mean, just look at all of these colleges, especially like how much they've been raising the the CEO of this, CEO of that. Oh, U of M just got this coach. U of M got this coach. That's got to come from somewhere, and plus all the real estate they got to keep up with.
And that's back to my point of a university is a business.
Business, yep.
And in their business, they have millions and millions of dollars for marketing.
Yep.
So for them to come to you and say, hey, any high school or wherever, here's all the literature, and their salesmen are employed by school districts.
Yep.
They don't have sales. They have distributor. They might have salesmen or whatever it is, but the salesmen are the counselors and stuff. So back to my point about how do we promote what we do, is we get into tech world and we hire people like you to promote what we do, and then we make information to give to schools to set right next to the University of Minnesota. So do you want to be a Gopher or do you want to be a Jerco tradespert? You know what I'm saying? But if we don't do that, we're screwed.
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, I have a feeling everybody in every industry, but construction, had somebody who's been speaking on their behalf and has been bringing somehow this information in front of the students of, you don't want to do this, this is what you want. This is the fabulous life of, diploma, blah, 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 And I get your point, and we just, like you said, we just as an industry, I feel like we have to unite and maybe, I mean, because hell, look at it, our entire industry is like, the average age is up there.
Oh, and
we're gonna,
and the amount of people at those age brackets, I've been watching it for 10 years, and
it just keeps going up.
Yeah.
And we got to bring new kids in. We got to, because it's, otherwise, we're going to fold on ourselves, And it's, right now, labor's so hard to come by.
I read a book years ago, Automatic Homeowner Millionaire. I think that was the book, or I've read a bunch of them, but it was...
Sorry.
That's right. Battery. Oh. I think it was Automatic Homeowner Billionaire.
Uh-huh.
So, I just want, this is just for the video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I want it to be like, so that it's in less than 60 seconds mention about the 3 trades and transition to like, okay, these are the trades that you can get into using those 3 skills that
Gotcha.
you're teaching.
Gotcha.
Then these are the potential that you have, and you've seen that people do that much money on average. That's all you know
Yep.
we want to hear.
Gotcha.
Just in one single. at a
Can I
time.
just use 3 examples of kids
Sure.
that went directly from high school into a trade by
Sure.
learning those
a
skills?
different
That's
one.
even- that's
Yes,
even better.
That's even better. That's a different one.
Okay.
But what I'm talking about
Okay.
is just pointing out the
Yep.
trades that they can get into because of just 3 that
Yeah.
you're going to learn from your
Academy.
academy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they can get into this many because I didn't think about it, right? I didn't think like, oh, you just need 3 skill sets to get into like, I don't know, 5 or 10 different trades,
Yeah.
right?
I
Yeah.
mean, here's the thing.
potential to make money there is in
That-
every
that's-
single thing is so good
Right.
that no one thinks about it, but when it's in like one single video,
Yep.
it's like boom, oh okay.
Gotcha.
Now it's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's what opens up the door to all of those. As soon as you learn those 3 things, that's what opens up the door to pretty much you level up.
Right.
To that like.
Well, basically,
That's
if,
what I can
if someone was to think about, like, if you're going to go build a house and you know nothing about the trades, you know nothing about what we do, I would see that the three or 4 basic trades that are involved in what we do that are mainstream are concrete, framing, mechanical, which is electrical, HVAC, and plumbing, right? So let's say it's 4 or 5. If in every single one of those trades, you need to learn how to use a tape measure,
Yep.
use a skill saw or some kind of saw.
Yep.
And I say speed square because I'm a framer.
Yep.
But I promise you, any electrician, plumber, if they know to use a speed square, it's going to be a benefit to them,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Because the speed square is the smartest tool on site. It's smarter than most people on site, and that's no lie.
Hey, and it's called a speed square, but it's a triangle.
Figure that one out. That's a video in itself, right? So by me teaching you those 3 things, you can go into all of those trades, and I would say starting wages are like, let's just say a 1 to 5 year window. It's anywhere from 45 up to 70 or 80 within 5 years,
And that's
depending
just
on the
wages,
person.
Not even like starting my own business, just
That's just
That's
wages.
wages.
That's mastering or not mastering, like learning to use those and then put them into place in whatever out of those 5 trades you're doing, and being a good human being and a good team member.
So does that put it in perspective?
Yeah.
So now just imagine there's also a right and a left speed square. He didn't get that.
I use the right,
You use the right
the speed triangle.
speed triangle. Yeah.
I've actually been, have you ever, the Swanson speed square? That's the best one on the
Yes,
market, and you
yes.
get the little book with
Yep,
it.
yep.
I know everything in that book, but I've never read the book until about a month ago, and I started reading that book. It's phenomenal. Like, you want educational,
That's what
like
it is.
that book in itself will
It's
teach
like-
you about roofs and hips, and
Oh,
it'll
yeah.
teach you everything about building a house.
Oh yeah.
And so that's part of the Onsite Academy, is I'm trying to take that little book
Yep.
and like teach that to a kid, because, hey, this triangle that's called a speed square
Yep.
will allow you to do almost anything mathematically
Yep.
and physically building something.
Yep. I feel like something so simple is
You know what I love about it?
Hold
What
on.
I love about it is that a dumb carpenter thought of that tool.
a dumb carpenter. I wouldn't
They
say
weren't-
dumb carpenter.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what we call
yeah,
ourselves.
yeah.
I'm proud to be a dumb
Yeah.
carpenter.
So is there anything else that you want to ask, or is there any other creative way that we can wrap this up?
So
All right.
yeah, just a couple
Let's do it.
questions. What are the processes of framing a bathroom or a kitchen before and after?
The process of framing,
So
typically as a framing contractor, depending on the size of the job, we'll do a lot of the demo too. So project manager, whoever that is, if it's your guys, you come in, you prep the homeowners to get all the floor coverings down, the poly walls and all that stuff. And basically we come in, we have a scope of work, and that scope of work is as accurate as it can be, but it's never 100%. So we have to demo it, and we have to demo it down to a point where we know that the finished product is we're capable of creating that project. So it might be framing a shower, it might be framing, depending on your tile guy, it might be framing a curb for the tile, half walls, just backing for sheetrock to make sure that. The big thing about being a framer is, I think the big thing about being any trade partner, but especially a framer because you're there on the front end, is I have to make sure that when we leave, everything's there for the next person and the next person and the next person can do their job. So not only is it's not a super complicated job, I say we do the same thing over and over again, but we never build the same thing twice. Whether you're doing high-end framing or small framing, we do the same thing every day, but I've never built the same thing twice except for in building these sheds and stuff, right?
Yep.
But that's a whole different thing.
And even those are not exactly the same.
Correct.
You know?
When I worked for Rotland Homes,
Yep.
we had 5 models, and they were all different.
Yep.
Human air.
Yes, true. And another way to think about what he does and what the framing kind of encompasses is think about it as a body. They're the bones. They're laying down the bones
That's a good
for
one. I like that.
everything else that's going to come around that to make it,
So if
complete.
my uncle always used to tell me, like when we'd build these big houses, 1/8 of an inch adds up. So if I have an 8-foot wall that's 1/8 of an inch out of level, but I got to go up 3 more stories, that 1/8 all of a sudden turns into maybe 3/4 of an inch. And by the time you get up 30 feet in the air, 3/4 of an inch is it's not within industry standards because industry standards is 1/4 inch typically on most things, which is way too much.
Yep.
But everything that we do that we're off affects the trim carpenter, it affects the plumber, HVAC, all those guys, tile guys, flooring
Everybody.
guys.
Yep.
How long does it take to frame 3 to 4 bedroom home remodel, and what are the processes involved? Just you don't have to explain the entire process, but like steps by steps, whatever you can think of. Like
Typically, if we're given, let's just say it's a 3,000 square foot house. Typically, we go from estimate to, we call it nailing the handoff. So we take the estimate, we refine the scope of work in order to make it fit. Because Sanan is going to give me he's going to give me the plans and stuff. So as the framing contractor, I need to take a fine tooth comb to the specs that he gives me and implement what our expectations are in there. We nail the handoff, we give it to our project manager. We have to schedule lumber. We have to schedule equipment move because we have our own lift. So we have to figure out where that is, how the schedule works with it getting there. And then from that point on, it's from the foundation. I think we were talking about it this morning. Now this is a bigger house, so no, it's still gonna be the same. We have a 400 bullet point list that our schedule is. And that is everything from the foundation bolts to the towel bar backing in the master closet to the crown molding backing in the master bedroom or the vault backing, sheetrock backing in there. A house like that, we're gonna get it done in 2 or 3 weeks. I was just telling the kids today because they built that house on site. Mm-hmm. We have a 6,000 square foot box. It's the perfect house to teach kids on, and we've got the floor capped, and they have 2.5 more weeks, and I told them in 2.5 weeks on a 6,000 square foot house, by the time they leave, probably when they leave in 2.5 weeks, we'll be putting the roof on.
wow, and those kids are doing it.
With 4 other carpenters, yeah.
Wow.
And it's all process driven because we took our schedule and our punch lists and technology.
Yep.
And we built our schedule is now our punch list that every person on our team has available. It's on their phone, which we tell them to put their phone away. But if they're looking at the schedule, like so literally down to the half bath on the main floor, the towel bar backing, there's a line item on there that everybody on our team sees. And if it's not checked off, that's when the red flag goes off.
Is this something that you've built for yourself, or is this very common in the industry to use those 400, 300, whatever
Bullet points.
have? Yep.
I think for 10 years I did it up here, and when I had those very, very talented carpenters that weren't making me money. Just put it this way, I am building the same houses that we were building with all of those experienced carpenters in probably less or about the same amount of time with half the skill because of those 400 bullet points.
Yep.
Nice.
And technology allows that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you do something differently, or are you using a certain software that?
We use Co-Construct because
Co-Construct? Okay.
the general contracting stuff that we do, Co-Construct's easy to use.
Mm-hmm.
But we use Co-Construct all as an internal project management.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the builders I'll let them log on as my client so
Mm-hmm.
because we have daily logs. Like we do every day we have five bullet points that has to be addressed. So we have job site photos, we have who visited on site, who and why they're there. And then it's crane hours, fuel, and fasteners. So every day we're checking the boxes on that. And now our new thing is on new construction houses. We haven't dabbled with remodels into it yet. But not only does that help our team stay on track, now I have a story to give to Sanan, to give to their customers on while their house is being built. This is the on-site notes and the story and the picture and the video of, like we take a drone when we set trusses, so we have drone footage of all that, and we're creating that story to give to, not to give to the customer, we're giving it to you because you have the rights to it, and you do with it what you want, but we're not charging anything more. That's the one thing that I'm trying to use to differentiate us from others.
Everybody else.
Yeah.
So how can a homeowner know if a framing job was well done? You know, because for let's say if I was a homeowner, I'm not right now, and I wanted to just go out on the site and see like how the job has been done. I can see everybody's working, but how can I tell like if they're doing a good job or not?
I would say use common sense. No, like I'm not kidding.
This is important.
And if the job site was a mess during the duration of framing and things aren't tight, so if you have two 2x4s, a king stud, and a trimmer, and you can see between there, and you can put your finger in between there, or if there's a header meeting a king stud, like headers are above your windows, if there's gaps in that, if you're in your basement, I had a guy that applied for me a couple weeks ago. He said, it doesn't matter about basement framing. You just go and slap it up there. We custom cut every stud in a basement. Because basically, if you look at the trim in this room, it's called rough framing, but it should look neat, and it should look right. If it's cut together and hacked apart and it was a mess during construction, there's a good chance it wasn't a good framing job.
So that's what the homeowner should be looking for, right? If they were building a new home or just remodeling their own home.
Yep.
And again, saying that, going back to that those are the bones of your body. Everything else is going to be affected. As he mentioned, the eighth adds up. That's exactly what happens. Is by the end of it, you have a shitty job based upon.
Okay, how much difference does it make in choice of wood or materials when remodeling a standard home? Is there like a standard, choice of materials that you go through, or is this like
As far as framing?
Framing, just for framing?
I think the biggest challenge we have with framing is in newer stuff, in remodeling. In newer stuff, it's not so much because I would say basically from the 80s on, we've been pretty standardized with our materials. Maybe the 70s.
Started in 70s, but then in the 80s, it really everybody jumped up.
So what I mean by that, lumber yards, their lumber didn't have to be certified in the 70s and early 80s. Where now every piece of lumber is stamped. And I'm sorry, Home Depot and Menards, and I'm tell homeowners that lumber from Home Depot and Menards is not the same as it is from a lumber yard. There's just something.
Not even close.
There's just something about, not that it's not going to do the job, but it's just not the same. So you can't. I guess the hardest challenge is when you get into the older homes, you have to make today's products match the old products, but it's very hard to not use the right product in today's market, I would say, right?
Yes. And another thing that he mentions to that makes his life harder is when you purchase from Home Depot and Menards, most of that lumber is not straight. It comes warped in every which possible way. And then when he's trying to, and when he's trying to put that wall together that he needs it to be nice and straight, there's twice as much of work that he needs to put on to that particular wall or that job based upon that lumber, and still cannot guarantee that that's not going to warp even more or create a bigger problem down the line.
What would be the price difference of going with a Home Depot lumber?
Your 11% rebate.
I'm sorry?
Your 11% rebate.
That's the big difference.
He's joking.
It's pennies
he's
on
joking
the
about it.
it's pennies on the dollar.
Yeah,
Okay.
it really is. If I ever am putting together something that is big and a bigger project, other than, we're framing one small wall, like, okay, we'll go to Home Depot, Menards, and grab some
Like
of
a
that
bathroom,
lumber.
you're probably going to
Yeah.
get it from Home Depot.
Just because it's easier, quicker, and we can get it out there. When it's a bigger job and it's a bigger framing job, every time that we get, we're like, get it through our lumber yard, because it's gonna make us look a lot better at the end of the day when we finish up that entire job.
Well, I think Home Depot, the service, what Home Depot and Menards and Lowe's service, what their service is compared to like a Shear Brothers or Shaw or any of those other lumbers, they're servicing Home
we say
Depot.
Spring Lake Park lumber,
Spring Lake
too?
Park lumber, sorry. Home Depot and Menards are servicing thousands of customers a day, where Shear Brothers and the bigger lumbers are servicing 100 contractors a day.
Yep.
So they're geared, like for example, you have to buy $1,000 of lumber at Home Depot to get it delivered for free. I could call and order 3 pieces of lap siding to set windows
Whatever.
and not get a charge. So it's more of a service. Home Depot and Menards is convenient and easy, and it might be a few cents cheaper. So they're making it quick and easy for you for a few cents cheaper. But as a contractor, I will take the time and have the relationship with my lumber salesman so that they service me like the Home Depots and stuff serve homeowners.
Yep. So in that sense, I don't know how much more you got, but I'm gonna have to run.
Yeah.
There's no mic drop, but Jeremy, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate this.
It's always a pleasure.
I can't wait till we do more and we dig in a little further on all of the things that you're involved in.
Yes,
then we're
and
gonna dig into hockey too, and we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about that a little bit.
And as I get more details on the school stuff,
For sure.
let's team up and tag team that school this year. And
I would be more than happy.
yeah, it's gonna be. They're gonna have 2 crews building 2 different buildings, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
That's going to be amazing. We'll be participating however we can,
Awesome.
and whatever we can to contribute to that,
Awesome.
for sure. And now I got to introduce you to a very special SMC contribution.